Okay, so the supervisor has got a notification that he has been assigned a new task. And at this point, he can go through and refine what the worst that can happen or the consequences, the maximum consequences on this task. He's going to adjust the critical steps if necessary. And then he's going to step over into the W-I-T-C-H checklist or the with checklist. He is going to mark and select which of the 4 categories he wants his crew to fill out in this situation to allow them to come to and evaluate their Q score. So in this scenario, we're going to select all 4 categories, the work environment, and now we're ready to assign it to a crew. So we're going to assign this to the crew lead. And now let's jump over to the crew lead screen. He has a notification that says, hey, this task has been assigned to you. And scrolls through his list, finds the task that has been assigned to him because it's pending. So he goes under pending tasks and sees that there is this task waiting for him or her. And at this point, they're going to review the worst that can happen, verify the critical steps, and as a discussionary note for the crew in general, or in some situations, maybe the crew leader is going to fill it out themselves. This can be totally customizable for your organization. Some organizations will have every member of the crew fill out this survey or answer the questions independently, and then we will aggregate the Q score of the entire group so that you have a full picture of everybody's perspective and everybody's opinion on the crew. For this demo example, we're just going through answering the questions, and this is on a Likert scale, so it's strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree to each one of the questions as they appear. This is going to weight the presence of these error likely situations, or error precursors as we call them. So as the crew or the crew lead finishes up filling out the survey and answering the questions, you'll see that as we refresh the crew lead's computer or app, it shows that, hey, you have reached too high of a Q score. So now let's jump over to the supervisor screen. As you can see from the top, this is the supervisor screen. Scroll through the list of tasks, and we have this one that has a red Q score. So we'll open it up as the supervisor, and we will review the information that the crew or the crew leader has filled out in the with checklist so that we have an idea of exactly what's present. And the supervisor is going to kind of analyze. We can select which person that we want to review their responses with. We just go through and take a look, and we can say something like, okay, stress management training at work is improved. Okay, so that's good. Team communication happens frequently. That's good. They're looking at communication. Good information here. But essentially what the supervisor is going to do is they are going to review this so that when they communicate with the crew leader, they have a good idea of what they need to talk about. Because the idea is here the supervisor will actually contact the crew leader and say, hey, I see you filled out a Q score for this task. It came back high. What do you need from me? What do we need to do to make the situation out in the field more manageable? How can I help you? And that's what's going to be happening during this point in time. As the supervisor is reviewing the information filled out and the feedback filled out from the with checklist, they should be having a conversation. They should be making a phone call and have the other person on the line. And then once they have discussed this, along with potential mitigation plans for the crew to implement, then they will be ready to move forward in the application. So as you can see, we're ready to go to the crew lead now. We're back to the crew lead. They've had this conversation with their supervisor, and he's ready to implement a mitigation plan. So he clicks on mitigation, add a mitigation plan, and just gives it a title. We'll have a look out. Here we go. I'm trying to look out for pedestrians. Let's say we're doing this task is alongside a sidewalk, and we want to make sure that pedestrians don't enter the work zone. That was the big conversation we had between the crew and the supervisor. So the crew is now just filling out and describing what the mitigation plan or mitigation activity is going to be. Now the crew and the supervisor can agree to multiple mitigation activities, but we're just going to work off of one for this specific task. So as you can see, just type in the box, the description, and once you're happy with the description, again, this can be completely filled out and very detailed or very summarizing, because there should have been a conversation. So we're going to add this mitigation plan, and then we'll go back to the supervisor screen. The crew sends it back to the supervisor screen. We look through. We still have details with and mitigation. We're done with that. And then we get this pop-up that says, hey, you have a required action, Mr. Supervisor. So we'll click on the mitigation box to look at and verify that the mitigation plan was what we talked about. You see it's pending. We'll open this up so that we can review the mitigation plan. And yes, they said, hey, that's what we agreed on. I like this plan. So moving forward, I'm basically signing off on this strategy for my crew. I approve it, get this confirmation notice, and yes, I confirm that I want to approve this mitigation plan. It kicks back to my crew. My crew then can go in, click on all tasks, because it is now, it doesn't require mitigation, it's been approved. We're going to look at it, open it up. The crew can then see it's approved. So we'll open it up, and once they have done this action, they'll click on it and acknowledge that they've done the action. Then they can go about their job and then be ready to complete the task. So we click complete task, and then there's an after action report where we can describe anything that might have happened. Let's say there was an incident and we need to report an incident. So yeah, there was a community incident and we actually had pedestrians enter the work zone. So we're going to report this as an incident on this task. So the crew will go through, fill out the short, brief report, say, yeah, there was we took a break, and when our backs were turned, somebody walked through the zone. So did the job have to be delayed or stopped once you started? Yes, the pedestrian had to be removed from the job site. Did everything go as planned? No, because a pedestrian entered the work zone. So, for instance, we'd hoped that no one would enter the work zone, but when we turned our back to take a break, somebody came in. Was the documentation correct? Yes. Pre-job brief adequate? Yes. Sufficient skills? Yes. What needs to be done differently next time? So we're going to give some feedback to the organization, maybe our supervisor at this point. Say, hey, next time we probably need to just hire a dedicated crew, maybe a contractor, instead of using one of our own crew to manage foot traffic and pedestrians. So we're going to submit the after action review. That's going to go to our supervisor. Our supervisor then is going to open up this task and be able to see that there was an an incident reported in the after action review. So we open up the task again, and we'll see, oh, we had an incident, and in this incident, the supervisor can add a note. So we're going to add a note here and say, hey, I approved the use of one of the crew members as a lookout for pedestrians. That's on me, basically. Moving forward, our crew is right. We need to agree to have a dedicated, maybe a contractor on site to patrol and quarantine off the work zone. So there you go. Supervisor then will add that note to the after action review. That information will go into the back end of the software for the organization to really understand and review. And that is the full series of Q-Score.